All right, so how long has it been? 16 weeks we're coming up on. I think it's 16 weeks, isn't it? So, as I promised my Fundamentals of Criminal Law class, I'm doing a review for the final exam. A lot of things we got to go over. Thought I would touch on some things so that they would have some information, sprinkle a little gold dust on them. Not the whole bag of gold, but just a little. Plus, I think they're tired of seeing me anyway. Man, 15, 16 weeks. A lot to think about. So here goes. I hope you enjoy this review. Kidnapping. Kidnapping is actually false imprisonment coupled with movement of the victim. Entrapment. What is it? Entrapment is the defense that a law enforcement officer used excessive temptation or urging to wrongfully induce the defendant to commit a crime they would not have ordinarily committed. Double jeopardy. With regard to that, double jeopardy means that a person who has been acquitted by a judge or a jury may not be tried again, even if subsequent information reveals evidence that proves conclusively that the defendant is guilty. Embezzlement? Well, let's look at that. Embezzlement is wrongfully appropriating money or property entrusted to one for one's own use. And let's talk about this. The killing of one human being by another. What is that the definition for? It's the definition of homicide. The most common murder, the intentional killing of another human being, is considered the most serious offense, and this being in the criminal law, that is the intent to kill murder. Transactional immunity is total or full immunity for the criminal offense to which compelled testimony relates. And alibi notice statutes require defendants to make disclosures regarding their cases. Such disclosures include the place where the defendant claims to have been at the same time the crime was committed, and the names and addresses of witnesses to the alibi, if known. Yeah, it's true. Mental illness, mental retardation, and many forms of physical illness may be the basis for finding a person incompetent to stand trial. In the case of Ingraham v. Wright, the U.S. Supreme Court considered the relationship between the cruel and unusual punishment clause and the use of corporal punishment in public schools. It's also true, two offenses are the same for double jeopardy purposes if the same facts serve as a basis for each offense. An affirmative defense is any defense that assumes the complaint or charges to be correct, but raises other facts that, if true, would establish a valid excuse for justification or a right to engage in the conduct in question. Now, let's talk about martial law. Martial law is a state of military control over civilian populations as declared by state or federal government. Now, let's remember, many states have adopted feticide statutes, which treat the death of an unborn fetus outside the usual definitions of homicide. Murder under the common law and is enacted by statutes of many states as first-degree murder is often defined as, get this, unlawful homicide with malice aforethought. Robbery, what is it? Robbery is actually forcible stealing. A claim by a defendant that the defendant did not know the action taken, that it violated the criminal law, is the definition for mistake of law. A person who, because of necessity performs an act that otherwise would constitute a crime may use the justification of necessity as a defense if the harm or evil sought to be avoided by such conduct is greater than that sought to be prevented by the law defining the offense charged. Duress. Duress is a defense to criminal prosecution on the grounds that the defendant was forced to commit the criminal act. That's duress. The necessity defense. Like the duress and coercion defense, is not available to justify the death of another person. Remember that. Capital punishment. Well, capital punishment is inflicting deadly injury as punishment for a criminal act. Virtually any kind of physical contact can constitute a battery. It's important to remember, so long as it is done in a manner that is non-consensual and in a hostile or belligerent manner. It's the definition of kidnapping. False imprisonment coupled with movement or stifled movement of the victim. It is true, most states have enacted rape shield laws that forbid the use of evidences of rape victims' past sexual conduct with others and evidence of her reputation to be utilized in a court trial. Remember this, statistics show that in as many as 40% of the cases that come into the offices of the prosecutors in large cities, rape charges are not issued. Studies show that most women, especially young women, fear rape more than any other crime. That's true. And with regard to mandatory reporting laws have been enacted by all states to require doctors, nurses, teachers, daycare workers, and other people coming in contact with children to report suspected child abuse. That is as it should be. The criminal codes of the 50 states use the terms rape, sexual assault, sexual battery when dealing with what the common law called rape, and do so in a variety of ways. Now, it's true, a crime may also be a tort and a moral wrong. For example, murder is a crime, a tort, and also a moral wrong. Think about it in those terms. Intent. Intent is the mental purpose or design to commit a specific act or omission. Now, under maritime jurisdiction, criminal laws can be created to govern the conduct of persons, either Americans or aliens aboard American ships or aircraft in the territorial waters, on the high seas, or elsewhere. Federal enclaves. Federal enclaves are federally owned and controlled lands. Don't forget that. Just wanted to let you know that that is the end of it. Okay, that is it. Wanted my class to know it has been a pleasure working with all of you. I learn something every year, and I hope you learn something from this final exam review. Remember, I'm sprinkling gold dust, not the whole bag, but I think you'll benefit from it. For the rest of my viewers, thank you so much for hanging in there with me. I hope you've learned or continue to learn from some of the subject matter presented here. And to all of you, have a great summer.